This is Teresa at Divine Frequency. On my channel, you'll discover perspectives for the evolving collective. A warm hello to my new subscribers and a huge thank you to those who support me on Patreon. Y'all rock. All right, we are going to dive right in. Hashtag Mermaid Life. Today, we are discussing the deeper meaning found in Ariana Grande's latest music video, No Tears Left to Cry, which was released April 19th, 2018. The scene begins with a disorienting sweep into a dark, futuristic city. We soar over rooftops and buildings and listen to the eerily melodic sounds of Ariana's voice lilting over the cityscape. We zoom into the top floor of a building, which looks very similar to a church. There are 5 stained glass windows poised atop 4 pillars. In accordance with the symbology from the tarot, we can make the connection here that we are seeing a representation of the 5 of Pentacles Minor Arcana tarot card, which connects to the emotions of deep isolation and insecurity, and in a deeper sense represents seeking solace from pain and suffering in the church. An archetype which represents spiritual comfort to those crippled by pain and helplessness. As this card can be associated with difficulties surrounding financial gain and wealth, we can make the connection that due to Ariana's selling of her soul for great wealth and fame, she now suffers the negative aspects that come along with aligning with such a path. The 4 pillars, to me, represent the 4 stable pillars of marriage as depicted in the Minor Arcana tarot card of the 4 of Wands. Ariana wears a dark dress in the first scene, symbolizing her marriage to the dark occult. Notice the 5 stained glass windows in the card. The number 5 represents conflict, a movement out of the stability of the number 4 into rocky waters of changes and risk. Windows usually represent a portal into the soul, a deeper aspect of the self. We zoom in dizzyingly as the camera angle tilts and circles through the window and find Ariana Grande perched against the wall. The disturbing ethereal nature of the video only expands from here. She begins to sing, and the first line is, "Right now I'm in a state of mind. I want to be in like all the time." A subtle sarcasm from the opening lyrics of the song, indicating that she is chained to the sorrow she feels in her heart. She peers out the window solemnly and sings to nobody in particular, and seems to be completely cast out from the world, held prisoner inside her solitude. As she climbs along the ceiling and walls, a catchy pop beat begins and she strokes her hair, which falls like a white snake braided neatly down her back. The next lines of the song are, "Ain't got no tears left to cry, so I'm picking it up. I'm loving, I'm living, I'm picking it up." Now the main hook of the song is, "I'm picking it up." It certainly makes you immediately wonder what it is that she's picking up. Is she picking up the pieces of her broken heart? I refer back to the beginning lyrics, which refer to her state of mind. And my assertion is that she's referring to picking up fragments of her fractured mind. In this first video scene, it's nighttime and her feet never touch the ground, which to me symbolizes her disassociation from reality and the depths of sorrow that occurs at night, the nighttime of the soul, the darkness of her state of consciousness. In this place, she's illusioned by fantasy that makes her feel detached from the rest of the world. We watch as she falls through the wall into another room filled with sparkling spider webs, inside of which she is bound and from which she's unable to escape. Her face looks scared as she declares, "Ain't got no tears in my body. I ran out, but boy, I like it." Another comment she throws out, indicating that she has become so hollow inside, caused by the lack of comfort from the pain that she's trying to convince herself that she likes, the hollowness that plagues her. The next part is very disturbing. She states that she likes it, which I'm guessing means the pain, and then she says that it doesn't matter how, what, where, or who tries it, which to me is an underhanded sexual reference, connecting the pain she feels to the feelings of being used and abused. We watch her cling to a ladder atop the city, which stretches out to her from all sides, as though she's stuck in a box in the center, never able to touch the ground. The feeling of this scene gives you the impression of a lone wolf howling at the moon. Next, during the chorus, she declares that she is coming out even though it's raining, which refers to the concept that no matter how sad and broken she feels, her career is actually catapulting to the next level. She says, "Can't stop now, can't stop, so shut your mouth." A reference to the common Illuminati abusers' rules of their abused being forced to suffer in silence. This is a very common theme that pops up within the entertainment industry, so much so that it almost goes without saying at this point. I also talk about the common theme of silence in my other symbolism videos about Katy Perry and her music videos. Be sure to check those out. Next, the sun comes up and we see she's in a dark green dress, and the walls are now golden and cream colored. She steps boldly onto the ground. Now that the sun has come up, she is rejuvenated with life. This scene appears right after the lyrics, "So shut your mouth," indicating what happens once you surrender your voice. Once this happens, she becomes illuminated by the dark occult and named. Usually in these pop music videos by mind control victims, there's a common thread of symbolism here that indicates when you sign over your sovereignty to the masters, this is when you rise to fame. The juxtaposition of selling your soul and then portraying it as illumination is a way that the dark occult bastardizes light occult teachings of true illumination through self-mastery and enlightenment. True soul activation that occurs when you step into the light of unity consciousness. As we can see from Ariana Grande's music video, the happy scene of light is short-lived, and we are dumped headfirst into the next gloomy scene where she wears a white and black polka dot dress. The contrasting black and white is commonly used to describe fractured consciousness. When you are fully integrated within your mind, you walk the center of the narrow path, fully balanced within the neocortex of the brain. With only the black understanding of the divine feminine or the white understanding of the divine masculine, you are not integrated. You must become fully centered. This is the divine union of unity consciousness. The black checkerboard is another common symbol used in many music videos, but here the director uses the black and white polka dotted dress, which serves to represent the same thread of symbology. It is common with mind control tactics to issue trauma to the victim in such a way that prevents them from being able to fully integrate their minds, leaving them lost in a state of confusion and disassociation from reality. The next lines of the lyrics are very telling, given what I just described, as she states, "They point out the colors in you. I see them too, and boy, I like them. We're way too fly to partake in all this hate. We out here vibing." This is her calling out the prison. Once the handlers fuel your fractured nature through trauma, you only see the colors of black and white, no immersion into the congruence of the mind. She claims she doesn't pay attention to the hate, that she disassociates from it and seeks to lose herself in the indulgence of fame and money. She dances on the rooftop and sings "Shut Your Mouth," and then proclaims that if you didn't know before, then you know it now, indicating that even if you didn't know what you were getting yourself into before, you certainly know it now once the results and consequences are upon you. She falls from the rooftop and sails down into the sky as she sings about her imprisoned state of mind that she tries to assert that she enjoys. The juxtaposition of her falling off the building and a false proclamation of enjoyment serves as an assertion that she's not actually truly happy with her outcome. Next, we move into a blatantly obvious symbol of her fractured state of mentality. The shot is her face inside mirrored fragments, a very common symbol used to show the fragmenting of the personality as used in deep mind control tactics. The mirror represents looking at yourself and peering into the deep aspects of your soul. Through trauma, your true self fractures into pieces as symbolized by the broken mirror and images of the face in tiny shards. The next line is incredibly disturbing as she states, "Oh, I just want you to come with me. We on another mentality," basically stating outright that this path has spaces for more. She beckons the asleep masses into her hell of dissociation, her life of indulgence and pleasure plagued by the sorrows of losing yourself to the pleasures of the world in the process. And if the symbolism we've discussed thus far hasn't convinced you that this music video is a blatant cry about MKUltra mind control programming, let's journey to the next scene where Ariana sits on the ceiling, looking at stands holding her different faces. She takes her own face off, leaving her face formless and empty, and places it down in front of her, next to other singing faces of her own, directly on top of pieces of paper strewn about, on which we see drawings of puzzle pieces, mazes, and scribbled notes. I actually zoomed in on one of the notes and was able to read some of the messages embedded in the music video. We see the acronym REM and the thrice underlined phrase, God is a woman, and a bulleted list, successful, sweetener, breathing. The last line is difficult to make out, but to me it looks like it says borderline and then has 3 words after it scribbled out. It appears that she has written down the ideas that she feels like she needs to survive. Also very interesting that we see the word borderline, potentially a reference to borderline personality disorder, which can be an outcome of trauma-based mind control. The acronym REM could refer to the REM cycle of sleep, and as sleep deprivation is a common factor in mind control programming, there could be a link to MKUltra mind control here. Elite Agenda wrote an article about this, and I quote, "The MKUltra mind control program was initiated and funded by the CIA Scientific Intelligence Division in the 1950s till the mid-1970s. The sole purpose of MKUltra was the behavioral modification or behavioral engineering of human beings in order to be able to control and enslave them. Through these mind control techniques, subjects are first de-patterned by manipulating their individual mental states and altering their brain functions. This is done through ECT, electroconvulsion therapy, the administration of drugs, hypnosis, sensory and sleep deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, as well as other various forms of torture." End quote. These tactics were used then, and they are most likely still being used now. There is an endless well of information to support that many of these women in the music industry and elsewhere are being manipulated and abused by controllers all over the world. And these music videos are basically throwing these concepts right in our faces. In the last scene, she's back on the rooftop, dancing on a small raised stage in the middle of suited men dressed in black, holding umbrellas. The umbrellaed men in black represent the industry, completely shielded from her pain and tears. They are impervious to her suffering. She is the innocent in white in the middle, trapped in the center of a prison of the industry's design. At the time stamping of 3:33 on the video, we see the sun pour out over the rooftops and cast a beam of light over the cityscape. In the last scene of the video, she's finally on solid ground and sits in the grass at the foothills of the city. As the camera angle changes, we realize that she's not actually on the ground, but at a 90-degree angle to the earth. She throws something to a dog who catches it and runs away. What's the symbol here? Well, she's symbolically throwing a bone. When you throw someone a bone, you're giving into them. You're feeding them. This is her way of symbolically collapsing into the beast. The underlying irony here is that she's the true pet, the slave to the master. As you might know, dark occultists communicate symbols rich in archetypes from the ancient world of Egypt. The dog-headed figure Anubis was an ancient Egyptian god of the underworld who watched over the spirits of the dead. The symbol of the dog could indicate that Ariana is now a spirit of the dead, no longer truly sovereign. Dogs represent guidance, protection, and loyalty, none of which she seems to have garnered at all through this video of sorrow and solitude. In the last shot of the video, a bee flies off the right side of the screen. Bees represent brightness and personal power. It seems as though both of these animal symbols serve as a reminder that she has lost her sense of personal power and has been abandoned, now chained to an industry filled with treachery and loneliness, left on the walls to watch her own life from a state of perpetual dissociation. Now, this breakdown of no tears left to cry was not very uplifting, I know, but the reality is there's a lot of trauma happening across the world. It's imperative that we have eyes to see the symbols and messages that are being seeded into the collective consciousness through the mainstream media. The first step is waking up to the realities of abuse, and the next step is doing something about it. Please help spread awareness of the abuse rampant in the music industry by sharing this video and coming up with your own ideas about how to educate people on deep atrocities being committed by the dark occultists who run the world. Open your eyes to see the underlying truths that are available to you, and then help others see the truth as well. Expand your mind and become a master of your reality, y'all. All around us are pieces of the gigantic cosmic puzzle. Let's attune to its frequency.